Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Alright, without further ado, let us dive straight into the recap of TSUKIMICHI, Moonlit Fantasy Part 34. Alright guys, in the previous video, there was an initial clash on the upper floors of the labyrinth that immediately separated Makoto from his group. That encounter also revealed the unique abilities of the Origin adventurers, while Tomoe's battle began to move in a far more serious direction. Now, in this video, the story focuses on a major clash that truly highlights the difference in power levels between the Kuzunoha group and the Origin side, with intense psychological pressure, extreme strategies, and the use of area control and traps becoming the core elements of the battle. Now, let us continue to Part 34. The story begins with Mio being locked in a fierce battle against Rokuya. From the very start, Mio unleashes relentless attacks without pause, yet Rokuya consistently manages to evade them with almost perfect precision. At this point, Mio begins to acknowledge that Rokuya's evasion ability is truly on a very high level. Even so, several of Rokuya's counterattacks do manage to land on her, although they are not enough to stop her movements. Every time Rokuya attempts to close the distance and attack directly, Mio's slashes only cut through empty air. Again and again, her attacks fail to connect. From this, Mio realizes that Rokuya's ability to conceal his presence is extremely troublesome, to the point that it can be considered a high-level skill characteristic of a professional assassin. Taking a deep breath, Mio is forced to admit that Rokuya's hit-and-run fighting style is nearly perfect, exploiting openings and blind spots with remarkable efficiency. The battle continues with the same pattern. At times, Mio manages to catch a glimpse of Rokuya's shadow, but every counterattack she launches still fails to hit its target. In contrast, Rokuya continues to deliver deadly attacks from all directions. Even so, Mio pays no attention to her own defense. For her, the healing ability she possesses is still far faster than the damage she receives. In fact, Mio begins to feel that Rokuya's attacks are becoming monotonous. She cannot understand why her opponent keeps repeating the same attack pattern. On the other side, Rokuya notices signs of fatigue in Mio and realizes that an opening has appeared. Without hesitation, he immediately launches a powerful strike. For Mio, the sensation of receiving an attack from an opponent this strong is something she has not felt in a very long time. She is still unable to fully grasp the speed of Rokuya's movements, and his ability to erase his presence makes the situation even more difficult. Suddenly, Rokuya disappears entirely, leaving behind black mist that spreads throughout the arena. In an instant, a storm of lethal attacks known as Wind of Destruction strikes. Mio's body is torn apart by thousands of slashes at once, ripping apart the black kimono she is wearing. Those relentless attacks also contain poison. Mio is forced to drop to her knees, enduring an overwhelming level of pain. However, moments later, Mio rises to her feet once again. Rokuya clearly does not expect that an attack of that magnitude is still not enough to kill her. There is not even a single trace of poison remaining in Mio's body. She appears completely fine after enduring thousands of deadly slashes. Mio then mocks all of Rokuya's empty talk about the great power he prides himself on. From the beginning, Mio deliberately allows Rokuya to unleash every type of attack he has. For her, after her opponent exhausts everything he can offer and still fails, the mockery feels far more satisfying. Hearing this, Rokuya states that among Tomoe, Makoto, and Mio, only Mio is truly worthy of being his opponent. He is even completely confident that he will not lose. Rokuya then explains that he has carefully observed every single movement Mio has made, and has confirmed that his judgment is not wrong. He is completely confident that he can win. However, for Mio, all of this feels confusing. From the beginning until now, Rokuya's attacks have been completely ineffective, and even his poison has had no effect on her. The atmosphere suddenly changes when Rokuya utters a confusing remark, reminding her that her opponent at this moment is Mio, not merely a monster spider. Hearing this, Mio unconsciously lowers her guard, having underestimated her opponent's attack too much. That mistake immediately proves fatal. The ground beneath Mio's feet begins to glow, and several fantastical gears emerge from all directions. A unique ability known as Grim Tail Gear binds Mio's body, wrapping around her and piercing through her. Her legs, arms, waist, and even her neck are tightly locked by the painfully rotating gears. Rokuya explains that this is his true trump card, a combination of physical and magical restraint that slowly guides its target toward death. At first, Mio looks down on the restraint. With her physical strength, she believes that she can easily destroy the gears. However, Rokuya quickly warns her about the curse hidden behind this technique. If the gears are forcibly destroyed, then all of the bonds possessed by the victim will be destroyed as well. Upon hearing the word bonds, Mio's anger immediately subsides and is replaced by hesitation. She instantly understands the meaning behind that threat. The bond in question is not a simple restraint, but her soul contract with Makoto, the most precious thing in her life. From the very beginning, Rokuya has calculated his opponent's psychological state with extreme precision. He understands that Makoto is far too powerful to be used as a hostage, so he chooses to strike at Mio's other weakest point instead, which is her fanatical devotion to her master. Rokuya is certain that Mio will never be able to destroy that contract pact with her own hands, even if her own life is at stake. That assumption proves to be correct. Mio, who had been resisting moments earlier, ultimately chooses to remain still, enduring the overwhelming pain caused by the rotating gears in order to keep her contract bond intact. Believing that victory has already been secured, Rokuya intends to leave the area to assist his allies. However, his steps come to a halt when Mio reveals a shocking fact. She explains that the first spell she fired at the beginning of the battle was not an ordinary attack, but an area-sealing spell with a radius of approximately 300 meters. Anyone, except Makoto and Tomoe, will not be able to leave that zone anytime soon. Rokuya's eyes widen in shock. The situation suddenly turns into a deadlock. Mio cannot move because of the gears, but Rokuya also cannot escape because of Mio's magical barrier. Mio calmly concludes that Rokuya's gear-based ability must have a time limit. That means she only needs to wait until the restraint releases itself. In the end, both of them are trapped in a position where neither side can take any action. Mio's body continues to be destroyed by the rotation of the gears, only to be immediately restored by her regeneration. The level of destruction inflicted on her body is far lower than the speed of her recovery, causing the wounds to heal instantly, even though the pain remains unchanged. With a chilling laugh, Mio promises that she will carry out torture in the second round. Upon seeing Mio's malicious smile, Rokuya immediately panics. He runs around desperately, searching for an escape route that he cannot find. Mio fully enjoys his panic. Meanwhile, at another location, Makoto is facing Hitsuna. Unlike the physical battles occurring elsewhere, their encounter turns into a clash of analysis. Makoto realizes that Hitsuna's safety zone operates under rules similar to those of an MMO game, blocking attacks from outside while also prohibiting combat within the zone itself. Seeing Makoto's calm demeanor, Hitsuna briefly believes that she has successfully restrained Makoto completely. Not long after that, Makoto expresses his curiosity about the condition of Mio's battle. Hitsuna refuses to show it, stating that this is a direct request from Rokuya. Even though he cannot see it directly, Makoto is still able to sense Mio's overwhelming anger, and that feeling makes him uneasy. He then stands up and states that he has already finished analyzing the ability of Hitsuna's safety zone. Makoto then explains the mechanism behind the safety zone's power in detail. That explanation immediately changes Hitsuna's expression, as her ability turns out to be understood far too easily. Only then does it become clear that from the very beginning of their conversation, Makoto has secretly been carrying out a clever maneuver. He takes advantage of Hitsuna's blind spot to extend the flow of his magical energy, and successfully sends his magic armor outside, slipping it through a narrow gap along the boundary of the safety zone. Hitsuna is completely shocked when she realizes this truth. Even though Makoto's real body remains confined together with her, his main combat power is already freely moving outside. Calmly, Makoto states that it is now his turn to act. He then takes his leave, as he must move immediately to assist his subordinates who are still engaged in battle. On another part of the battlefield, the situation feels completely unreasonable for the Picnic Rose Garden side. Baron stands firmly while wearing thick armor, like a walking fortress. His body, reinforced with steel-like muscles, functions not only as a terrifying living shield, but also provides highly precise technical support. The sense of unfairness grows stronger when the effects of healing magic in the area seem to be suppressed, making Vivi's forces struggle to recover. In contrast, Baron, Hokuto, and Shi show no signs of fatigue at all, despite being continuously surrounded. Amid this situation, Vivi, as the leader of Rose Garden, still makes a resolute decision. Even while facing enemies who are far stronger, she decides that Rose Garden will continue advancing against the Kuzunoha Company. To Vivi, every member of Rose Garden is family. When Pione harbors deep resentment toward Makoto and regards him as an enemy, Rose Garden must stand on the same side. Vivi actually understands that revenge will not bring anything, but she cannot bear to let Pione sink into sorrow and pain alone. On the Rose Garden side, the battle continues without pause. They keep trying to find weaknesses in Baron and his companions, but the situation is far from favorable. The items used by Baron and the Kuzunoha group are equipment completely unfamiliar to Vivi, throwing all of Rose Garden's calculations into disarray. In the middle of this stalemate, Baron and the others launch a counterattack by firing 4 spears of light at the same time, which then explode violently. The battle becomes even more brutal, with no sign of ending anytime soon. A short while later, Ageha, acting as an assassin, moves from within the shadows. She uses threads to bind one of Hokuto's arms, then unleashes a barrage of 99 consecutive attacks, combining continuous strikes with both her hands and feet. Even with one arm bound and his movements restricted, Hokuto remains calm. As a member of the Alki race, his true form possesses 8 arms, and he is still able to block all of Ageha's attacks directed at him. Hokuto quickly realizes that Ageha is gathering her strength for a single decisive blow. Without waiting any longer, he immediately shapes his threads into a large shield. At the exact moment Ageha's fist is released, the shield successfully blocks it perfectly. At almost the same moment, Vivi attempts to finish off Hokuto from behind. However, the attack completely fails because it is stopped by Shi. Without hesitation, Shi drinks a potion, and in an instant, red magical energy bursts out from her body. Vivi retaliates with black magic. The two forces collide head-on, pushing against each other in an intense contest of power. Shi continues to force her way forward, even as pain begins to spread through her arm. Vivi does not expect Shi to possess such overwhelming strength. In the end, Vivi cannot withstand the pressure and is struck by the magical explosion, her body being blown far away. Ageha is also dragged along, struck by the explosion caused by the threads wrapped around her arm. Seeing that their enemies are already on the brink of defeat, Hokuto firmly reminds everyone that they should not be killed and should only be left half dead. With confident smiles, Baron, Hokuto, and Shi prepare themselves to face the final round of this one-sided massacre. Meanwhile, Makoto attempts to leave Hitsuna's safety zone. However, Hitsuna immediately stops him. Makoto, unwilling to waste any more time, quickly unleashes 2 consecutive bridge spells, followed by a single arrow to pin down Hitsuna's movements. However, Hitsuna turns out to be no ordinary opponent. With unbelievable hand speed, she deflects all of those attacks using a magic book instead of a staff. From this, Makoto realizes that the impact of his attacks is far weaker than usual. Apparently, the entire floor of the labyrinth has a power-nullifying effect on intruders. Makoto understands that Hitsuna is deliberately stalling for time, and most likely intends to trap him once again. Even while under a debuff condition, Makoto continues to prioritize the safety of his companions. Without chanting any incantations, he immediately sends defensive enhancement magic, Guardian, Stiletto, and White Card, to Mio, Tomoe, and Baron's group in the distance. When Hitsuna sees Makoto using high-level ritual magic without verbal chanting, her eyes widen in shock. Shortly after that, Hitsuna retaliates with a red ice attack, creating an ice storm that surges toward Makoto, but he successfully blocks it. Hitsuna then switches elements and launches a fire attack, which this time manages to penetrate Makoto's magic armor. She follows it up with Blade Wave. Makoto does not expect his magic armor to be damaged to such an extent. Rapid magical attacks continue to slam into him, destroying 1/3 of his magic armor and even forcing Makoto to directly endure the sword wave. Makoto is shocked to see that Hitsuna gives him no opening at all and continues pressing the attack mercilessly. He immediately reconstructs his magic armor. Amid the barrage of attacks, Makoto finally manages to grasp Hitsuna's presence as she hides while attacking. Hitsuna is startled when she realizes that Makoto still appears completely fine despite having taken so many attacks. Makoto then gathers power into his hand, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. However, just before that happens, Hitsuna activates the safety zone once again. Makoto silently acknowledges that Hitsuna is an extremely formidable opponent. She is able to activate the safety zone at the exact moment an enemy is about to unleash life-threatening magic, causing that attack to vanish instantly. While cornered, Hitsuna appears to protest the situation and calls for help from Takane, who has been merely observing until now. Not long after that, several Mariko-san appear. They immediately attack Makoto with swords, but their attacks are still unable to penetrate his magic armor. Hitsuna launches another attack. This time, 4 elemental attacks are released from behind Makoto, while from the front, the Mariko-san simultaneously thrusts spears of light. The destructive power of the two-pronged assault is extraordinary, but Makoto is able to handle it with relative ease. He continues fighting against Hitsuna and the Mariko-san at the same time, bringing them down one by one without losing control. On the other side, Hitsuna grows increasingly irritated. Her safety zone skill is still on cooldown, so it cannot be used again yet. She tries to slow Makoto down by creating a swamp to weigh down his movements, but that effort is meaningless because Makoto's magic armor nullifies the effect. Fatigue gradually becomes clearly visible until Hitsuna finally drops to her knees. Even so, the leader of the Mariko-san refuses to give up. The attacks continue without pause. Makoto then activates magic by bringing both palms of his magic armor together, concentrating power into a single point. Long story short, with most of the enemies already defeated, Makoto feels that the situation is sufficiently under control and that it is time for him to leave. However, before he can take a step forward, someone suddenly stops him. Makoto is shocked because from the very beginning, he has not sensed the presence of this figure at all. The one who appears turns out to be the Mariko-san queen. The situation immediately descends into chaos when the Mariko-san in front of him recklessly attacks with a rapier. At first, Makoto thinks that it is nothing more than a careless move, but the attack proves to be a perfect diversion. As Makoto's focus is split, Hitsuna summons her ultimate weapon, the demonic axe of Thurisaz, a pair of gigantic dark axes. What is shocking is that the axes do not cleave Makoto's body, but instead sever the magical formation of the attack he is preparing. Makoto is left stunned. Hitsuna successfully reads the flow of his magic and neutralizes his counterattack before it can even be released. The Mariko-san used as bait disappears at the perfect moment. Now Makoto is truly cornered. From behind, he is bombarded by Hitsuna's 4-colored elemental attacks, while from the front, thousands of Mariko-san spears of light are ready to charge. Explosions of light and roaring sounds overwhelm his vision and hearing, forcing him to endure completely within the deadly encirclement. At the same time, the Mariko-san queen activates a spell called Bina Wall. Makoto's vision suddenly turns dark, his ears feel blocked, his body cannot move, and even breathing becomes impossible. For a moment, Makoto is confused about what is happening. However, when he hears his own heartbeat and senses the presence of his magic armor, he immediately calms himself. That becomes a clear sign that he is still alive. Makoto's mind works rapidly, connecting all the clues in front of him, the dungeon, the walls, and the ultimate technique. With dread, he realizes that he has been transported inside the solid dungeon wall itself, an instant death trap straight out of a retro game. Fortunately, inside the wall, the magic suppression effect caused by Takane does not apply. Makoto immediately unleashes the full power of his Sakai and magic armor to destroy the surrounding rock, creating a narrow space so that he can breathe. Now, he must dig his way back to floor 20 as quickly as possible before he runs out of air, while hoping that his bad premonition about the arrival of a knight named Asnoval does not come true, because if that happens, the situation will become far more troublesome. So, that is the recap of part 34 from Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy.